Well, that was some music. Doesn't it just throw you back to Buffy when you come back from school? I loved a bit of it. Anyway, my weird taste in TV shows aside, welcome back to the mandatory GG Cup here for the Ignition series. We are in the grand finals. Map 1 was a belter there, HYPERX. I love watching that. You guys did a cracking job of it. And so did Bonk for a fair amount. It looked pretty good for a bit. It was signs of life against the big dogs. But now we're coming into the lair of the beast, right? It's Ascent coming in. This is a different ball game, undefeated as it stands, G2. They have been taken to OT, but that's about as far as anyone's got.
It is, yeah. And I think it's a big factor to consider in the second half of that map 1. There was 5 rounds unanswered, and Ascent is a map. We talk about momentum so much in Valorant. Again, yesterday, once we saw Mixwell get warmed up, they were quite happy just leaving him soloing mid. He didn't even need David P in the end of it. And that's got to be a concern coming into this, because obviously it's G2's pick. They're going to have, obviously, well, if you talk about it, the disadvantage, they're going to be attacking first, which means they're obviously going to be defending in the second half. And obviously, when you kind of set the bar with your attacking half, I think it's very easy for a team to kind of sit back and say, this is what we need to do to get the map win. But you can see here the stats from the previous one are pretty well-rounded, to be honest. Real standout performances. Pitt, I will say that's a good stat line for him. That lurking role he was putting into effect very, very well. Haven. We saw it a couple of times in the post-plant situation. Again, I hate to come back to it, but his setup on defense, every time they rotate Pitt, they get absolute value off it. And I love to see that switch up from a team. You're seeing Safe again, 2 of the standout players from yesterday, to be honest with you, for me. So that's, I mean, Yassine versus Mixwell is going to be an interesting matchup to watch going into Ascent here. Don't know if we're going to see Yassine revert back to the Raze and Safe back onto Sage. But Safe already kind of setting himself up for a similar success as yesterday.
Spot on. And I love the way we're highlighting Pitt here, because this is, you talk about a player who's no stranger to pressure. I mean, I don't know how many of you people have seen this player's career in the past. He was brought into NIP back in the Counter-Strike days to reinvigorate that roster after quite some slump. And I mean, God, if you want to talk about pressure, you put the NIP fans from back in the day, really scrutinizing and criticizing. He came in and really did shine a fair amount. So no, stranger to these sort of scenarios to be put in under pressure. And he certainly handles his own. And I mean, who's not listened to a Mixwell stream once in a while? The man's comms are great, super clean, super clear. I love the composition of the G2 roster. I think that's the main thing I really like. Is surprisingly, we're seeing so many of these kind of regional mixes, different regions coming together. It's quite new in a way, not something we see very often in other esports, really. So it's good to see them blending very well, considering AORUS is definitely a character to play with. On server, off server, the man, he is a character and a half. And I want to see him have a big game here. He can be such a big swing player in these games. I'd love to see him pop off. I'm looking at David P as well, specifically on this map. We've seen high points, but then he's also had recently one of the harder affairs on this map. He struggled a little bit, and this is the first time he's ever felt that pressure, because honestly, this has been his kingdom until now.
It really has. I mean, we've been gassing him up as the battle sage, and he's delivered time and time again. And I think it's fair to say, that one-off match was a blip. He obviously recovered today, had a pretty well-rounded performance on Haven just now. Ascent has been one where we've seen him kind of be utilized more in that role, to be honest with you. I mean, the push out of B, the wall off, and the swing onto mid-link we saw in 3 or 4 rounds in their previous Ascent appearance. But just coming back to AORUS, yesterday it was something special again. I've always loved, particularly watching AORUS on split playing Raze. I'm now starting to love watching AORUS on Sova on Ascent. Not just for the B setup, which I know you've done, the Sinatra trademark with the Odin, but he put a clip up yesterday on Twitter where it was just like, I just felt like my game sense was the quote he put on that. And it was a clip of him walking out mid and getting like 3 kills through a dark cover. And it's things like that when a player's allowed to do. It was on a buy round as well. It was a full buy round from the enemy team. I mean, stuff like that is stuff that G2 can just pull out randomly, and it works. There are other teams that go for this default setup and they don't really do anything. They don't act on the information. G2 don't see a peek from top mid. AORUS pushes out. He finds 3 kills, comes back, rounds over in my eyes.
Now, as I said, during that first game, I was, bit of both go on my screen. I did go back and watch the HYPERX matchup against G2, which, as said, was the closest result that they've had on Ascent. It wasn't too far away. Of course, HYPERX are no longer as a collective, so it was a little while back, but not too far. I think it was the WePlay tournament. And honestly, the defensive side was their saving grace.
It was,
And
yeah.
the willingness for them to give up sites and play retake played pretty well to them, honestly. The amount of first bloods that you'll see G2 garner and get is just huge. They often get picks, not necessarily for free, but they're very good at finding them. To see HYPERX, peel away from sight, play quite passive, and then play on the retake was a huge saving grace for them. And I wonder what Bonk come into this with, because it felt like they did their homework on map 1. I'm curious what they have here.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about that a little further, I think that comes down to like that pedigree of CS kind of, not knowledge, but almost like the confidence, and not the confidence to say we can take this 2v4 hold on the site pre-plant. Is to say nope, like first person dies, they come back and they say, look, we're going to methodically clear. And I think it's almost counterintuitive, because if you have the confidence to take a 2v4 fight on the entry, then fair play to you. But to say actually we've lost one, we can retake this, we know our retake plan. And that's something we don't see a lot of Valorant teams doing right now. It's usually just an overcommitment, and I've still got utility, I can hold down the site. Playing your life is such an important aspect, and especially against G2, because they're so punishing. If they get in, they're absolutely going to clear. They're going to hunt you down. We've seen them a number of times in a post-plant situation. If they have information on someone, they'll push them. Ascent in particular, they push through their clean tree all the way through window, all the way to the defensive spawn. And a lot of teams will just settle to say, yep, spike's down, we're going to sit here and hold.
Yeah, let's have a look at these agent picks coming through. I think they're the current picks, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully that's the case, if it's not a historical one. Not too surprising to see it. It's pretty much par for the course as to what you theorized, so it kind of echoes on what you're saying. For me, when it comes to G2 on the attack, though, I want to see if they kind of do their quite favorable lean towards A specifically. It's something we saw before, so I want to see if that's something they go to again, or if we see a slightly varied up look. It does seem as though it's the B round on the pistol for them, up on the attack, leading one map to the good. So the A piece coming through, and a very defensively postured defensive side. They are not playing actively on the sides, they're playing in the choke points slightly further back. Look at the Omen, look at the Cypher. It looks like a retake.
Yeah, Aaron wisely not coming into challenge initially, so important thing to watch here is whether or not David P's allowed that B lobby control, or somebody's going to come through with the flank. It looks like majority of the pressure going to come through market and the defensive spawn. And that's usually difficult. There's 4 players pinned down towards site. David P's going to be the anchor man for this. So let's see what they can get done here on the retake.
Yeah, this would be excellent trading from this retaking side. Good utility usage. Safe going to find some value there towards Pit, but Mixwell claiming your scene takes away a little bit of this punch, and they have to wait out the smoke. You walk through, you're going to die, and Mixwell is going to claim that easily towards Ziz. You can see them try to chase him down, but Mixwell, he's buying time. Nice work. Better play from Patty Tech and David P instantly to capitalize on that, putting just so much pressure. I like the idea of the retake, but Mixwell is just a king at buying time, and Aaron's going to shut down Artist, but it's all too little too late. And the first round goes to G2.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely bang on the money there. Even Mixwell just staying alive that long, it's all eating time. And it keeps them off the site at the end of the day. So really, really good stuff from G2. And that's, I mean, it's a big round to get the attacking pistol round on a set, to be honest with you. You got to maybe question the fear of not challenging there, but I definitely think committing to the 5v5 retake is the right option, and I feel like there maybe should have been some presence to attack that from 3 points as opposed to just the 2 of market and defensive spawn.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I think if you're going to play that heavy on the retake, why not try and get a little mid lurk? Bit there towards your scene. Just keeping tabs on everything. This should be a goer. Shouldn't take too many casualties. There is a shorty lingering around. Okay, that's a curious one from Patty Tech, but I guess he finds the info maybe he didn't want, but Mixwell's gonna start loving this, surely. Oh, he's outdone by Bonker. Okay, a couple of fumbles here. Now, again, it's small, but the win conditions, or even the kind of, ticks that you put in the box off the back of a pistol up against even a slight bias, get a couple of guns away.
Yeah, David's got to be careful with this Phantom in his hands as well, because Bonkar's playing close with the classic Pit here to back him up. The spy cam will give the information away that he's still lingering on the ramp. But again, I think they're just going to look to do a little bit of damage here, Lauren. David, you've got to be careful again. The shorty's tagged him up to about half HP.
They've got him locked on the side for now. They could do a lot of damage to the economy. If they get the rifles away, that's brilliant. Nice little head, well, not even a headshot, but a close enough upper body shot, but Artist outdoes. Excuse me. Excuse me?
No.
Excuse me? No, 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 no. Oh my dear God, that was too close. We almost saw our first actual ninja defuse.
Again, the worrying thing, though, only one member of G2 pulled back there as well. And again, the spike plant position, a big factor in that. It allowed the 2 Radianite crates on point to be used as a defensive shield. That was worrying for a second.
That's squeaky bum time. You've made a mess in your pants. There might be a pause now because you don't love to see that. It makes you a little anxious. But we do see the buy round coming in, too, of course, to the good for G2 so far. So Bonk could really do with an answer back. Let's see how well they hold this. I like the passive Sova towards the back by spawn rather than actively towards middle. A bit of an aggressive-ish stack towards A long, pushing out, garnering information. So these players playing mid and that B link better be ready. That's surprising. Ziz was a little caught out by that, considering the presence. This is a fumble and a great exploitation by G2, but with the information Bonk had, I thought they'd be on the ball with that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, for me, as soon as there's 2 players committed to that long push, leave one, send the other one back for the rotation, because you know where the hit's coming. And G2, well, I was about to say they take no casualties, but you're seeing going to find Mixwell and then get caught out in mid himself. But that was obviously after the spike went down, so a little bit of a mid lurk coming through here. Bonk, I guess, going to try and save 2 weapons on the board here because they can try and get something going in the next round. But yeah, a little bit weird. It's to get that early round information from that deep as well. I mean, one important thing to notice there, they didn't destroy the trap wire in the spawn. So if this round would have gone any longer, Pat didn't get that entry on market, G2 wouldn't have actually had the information that flank was even possible.
There's silver linings that we're getting from this from Bonk, but we do need a round on the board sooner rather than later because we know what happens with G2. It is a snowball team. When they start feeling confident, when they get those rounds, they get the economy, they don't let it go. And the economy was a bit of a contested point initially, but now you're seeing people sitting on 5K, 4.8. They can drop out a little bit. And speaking of dropping people out, I don't know how Bonk's going to spread the wealth here. It's going to be a shoddy buy at best. They might be able to kind of get a couple rifles here and there, but it's going to be bulldogs and maybe a couple other slightly lacking weapons. And this 4-1 split looks like it could be a B piece, but with that presence of Cypher towards middle, they can always use mid to hit those rotations if they don't get an early pick.
Yeah. Interesting recon bolt there from Artist. We don't often see him miss those, but no information going to be gained off that one at all. And it looks like David P is going to wall up through the window, but that's the second time in 2 days we've seen him mess that one up. So unfortunately not going to get any value off that instead. They are still challenging here at the entrance, but deciding to come back and maybe revisit mid a little bit. Yassine's got himself tucked all the way in short cubby. He's actually going to find Pit all the way at top mid, and he will escape with his life as well. So a good little win for Bonk there.
It's going to reset the pace slightly. That's going to keep a little bit less flexibility with G2 now. The brilliance of having that Cypher towards the top of middle gives you that, ability to hit those rotations knowing that mid is open for you. But with that gone, it does limit them. So they might have to just fall back to this B hit. Pop of the ult. And with the information from Ray still pouring through, they've got to know it's this B hit. Ready and waiting, Bonk goes down. The hit's still deadly as you'd expect from G2, but they are suffering some casualties. The Bulldog doing the best it can to hold on to this, but for now, this 2v3, they might want to hold to get that raise in position.
Yeah, and Pat is hurting right now. The heal did go off, but it hadn't ticked over enough. He was still super, super low in the spy cam. Still tucked away at the back of lane, and there you go. It's going to give David P's position up, so it's just down to Artist now. He's all the way back in Boathouse. Not going to find the first one, but does find Safe on the second peek. And okay, a blast back just straight through the doorway will find him, and the defuse will come through.
Again, Cypher, super great approach to using utility. I want to look back at that. I'd watch that again. The ability to peek in towards the site with the combination. I think it was Yassine coming through and a couple of the other players getting there in the correct amount of time. They didn't push 2 individually. I like the way they capitalized on Patty Tech on the site. Maybe this was it could have been punished, but it's a risk-reward factor. You want to catch the player trying to get away from the bomb site, and you gamble it a little bit. And that time it worked out so well. So they brought it back to a way more manageable scenario. Very nicely done from from Bonk and a well-needed round.
And this is one thing here. Again, G2 reacting to the previous round. They know Yassine showed some mid-presence. That's us up on the camera. We're going to switch back to the game. But Mixwell now getting boosted up to hold this short push. And this time around, he's going to cover for David P to push all the way and tuck himself behind the crates there before falling down. And again, I love that switch up from G2. They know that they were punished by something in a previous round, and they act based on it. And this time, we're going to see a little bit of a push up short in towards Garden. Aldo not finding anything, but safe with the counter wall here. Showstopper getting popped. No, hasn't been let rip just yet. Yeah.
Pat's got himself in a really fun spot here. This could be really good. I think Yassine's got a really good idea where he might be. Oh, the timing! Way better for Patysek. Excellent blind. Big pressure. This is a big outplay. This is why Patysek can be an excellent omen. He gets taken down by a bang through the wall. Safe says goodbye, but G2, we're going to bound off the back of that. They're on the side. They're tucked in. This is going to be a quick bit of pressure coming back through from Bonk. They want a bit of this. David P with a quick res. The wall goes up, the door goes down, and so do the players. Nicely done so far from Bonk. They're not letting it slip, and look at that spike. HYPERX in the open.
Yeah, and actually Ardis has got no choice but to challenge there. And Safe will find his third on the round. That was a really impressive recovery. Like you said, a great amount of pressure coming in from Pat, from the shadows all the way into a disgusting position in hell. Gets the pick onto Yassine. That removes the showstopper, and then also the paranoia through scaffold. Again, holds them out of sight for so long, but they can't capitalize. They can't take a grip of the site itself.
This is big, really, really big stuff for Bonk. Keep in mind, this is always going to be G2's home. This is their comfort pick. This is their home stadium. So you see a couple of rounds that look good for Bonk. We got to give it credit. Now G2, of course, we haven't seen the best of them yet. It's still early days. We're, 5 rounds in. But let's see what they've got up their sleeve. How much more can they bring here? That looks like it. Oh, Bonk, you just got caught with your pants down. Mixwell doing it dirty. Ziz is there, but by now the rest of the attacking side should hit that site. Try and bounce off the back of that little bit of aggression. The one-way cages are going up, and they're trying to hinder this aggression. But look at that spike kiss, HYPERX. It's not here at B.
Yeah, this is completely baited out the rotation of Bonk. No trap wire to give the information away that are coming in. Yassine slowly making his way back up ramp here. Safe will get Bonkar back on his feet. But it's going to be an A hit here. Oh, Yassine has timed it perfectly.
Needs to back away now. He's done the job. He's done everything he needs to do. Wait for support, even if the spike goes down. Let him get it. You don't need to risk your life on that. Now you got Sage with you. Have a little bit of a go. Maybe offer yourself up for the trade. Healed back up to 100, sitting pretty. Yassine is playing beautifully thus far. Gonna try and clear towards Dark. Fakes it. We can see if they can draw out the play. Patysek, what are you up to? Switching up to the Phantom. I don't know if it's an upgrade in his hands. He looks so talented, even on just the Marshall. But Aaron to find David P, and it's a job done again for Bonk. 4 stand. Even after the back of some of these very individually talented picks that are coming through. We're seeing so many good elements. That Mixwell aggression, sure, it looked great, but that composure. Bonk are back in the game.
Yeah, I actually love that as well. Just to recap quickly, the dark cover comes down, covering B entrance, and Mixwell reads the owl drone perfectly. He peeks into the dark cover and knows that it's looking in the cubby, so he can walk straight through the dark cover, uses the tailwind to get up close and personal on Bonkar, who's just stood at the edge of lane. Just a really, really fantastic entrance. It's unfortunate G2 can't convert off that, but really interesting round then. Yeah, this is a heavy stack on both sides.
Oh, this is going to be juicy. Here we go. Yassine's over here as well. They see one for sure, but do they know where the op is? Now, we know AORUS gets great success with the ultimates coming through. This time, not so much. There it is. AORUS does find Yassine. He always seems to get one, but Bonka shows a bit back. So a 2-for-1 trade out. But for the attacking side to get an early pick, and look at this presence in middle. Big play from David P while everyone else was leaning towards A, but he goes down. Ziz is holding his ground, but he's got a lot more players coming over towards that site.
Yeah, Aldrone going to try and fish out something from Market here. Zid's going to find Pit. And that goes unpunished for the time being. Uses the shrouded step to break line of sight and get back in. Again, playing his life very effectively. Bonk still with the man advantage now that Ziz has managed to stay alive.
This looks like one of those you hold and see if AORUS can get you a pick. You've got 45 seconds. Let him work for a sec. And here it goes. He knows there's someone tucked on the site. He knows there's someone around. Safe when he comes over, but AORUS, he's so good in these scenarios. That's 2 big picks, 3 overall, but those 2 were paramount to the success. Now Safe, what can you do in a 1v2? Absolutely nothing. Big boy AORUS says no, and that is why he's such a key player. Sometimes in those kind of 2v3s, 2v2s, you almost want to let AORUS just have a go at it. You want to let him off the leash a little.
Yeah, and AORUS, again, I talked about his flex onto the Sova. On this map in particular, Sova is just such a powerful agent. Most of the walls and materials on this map are made of paper. So the recon bolt onto site there, he sits behind switch and just finds a freebie. No reason to risk a challenge onto site. Really, really smart use of utility, and we see AORUS doing it time and time again.
A long fight again. They fancy it. The G2 seem a little bit more aware this time. Paddy Tech up and over. Oh, the reveal. That's an... What? That flick. AORUS trades it out in the end, but it's a big one to start with. But it's going to be... I'm pretty sure it's Ziz in mid who's going to have to deal with a lot more players there. Big ones coming through as well. David P, the first to fall. Information being gone, and A is completely open, but Ziz, well, he can hit a TP if he fancies, but they're going to have to get towards A quickly. The spike's on the way. Bonker's going to see it. They know what's happening now, but how do they stop it?
Pick gets stacked by the Aldro, just B hopping around for a little bit. Response Aldro coming through here, but no wallbang possible. And I guess that's going to be a little bit of a standstill now. 3v3 though, so definitely doable if Bonk want to go for this.
Mixwell's all about timing this position. He gets it right, he wins these. Oh, just gonna find Aaron. There it is. That's the combination he hears. The steps, he takes a swing. He never gets into danger. Bonker surely doesn't read the position. Surely not. He's heard where Mixwell is, but by this point it's too little too late. Gonna do the damage on the last 3 bullets, but the round goes to G2. But this is a very good game between these 2 teams.
Yeah, and I mean even that there, it's just a little confidence booster for Bonk. Even though they lose the round, Bonk are hitting some really nice shots and a good clearance, even if it's too late, Lauren. So it's good to see nonetheless. And I mean, the scoreline, this is probably one of the closer ones we've seen G2 go through. It's only 5-3 right now. Bonk, I guess, able to invest a little bit back into this.
They could break the economy if they get away with it. You know what I mean? Like, look at the other side's econ is pretty poor, but oh dear, if they just go for this all in B hit,
out of my way.
Bonkar's in trouble. But he is one of the only players with a rifle, I guess.
Yeah, he is. Bladestorm gets popped. Mixwell going to try and get up in the face of Bonkar again. David P gets found in the window, and that's a huge kill to go through. Ziz actually going to find Pat with the ghost as well, and Bonkar swings out on the paranoia. This is a fantastic hold.
Just a little bit of utility coming out from Ziz was great, but here comes Pitt, the rock of the team. He finally gets chipped away at by Aaron, and now we're left with AORUS in a 1v3. But if there's a player you want in one of these, it's probably him. But he's going to have to dig deep on this. These angles, they can be tough to clear, but they're not too complementary. So he could be able to isolate some of these 1v1s. And that's what he's considering. He's got his ult. He's got a bit of util left. Bonkar's on red alert. He's like, okay, the spike's down on Cat. I know it, but AORUS just took down Aaron. And now it's going to be AORUS again working his way forward. Bonkar gets the timing right. And now AORUS, a little unaware, a little unsure, but still crisp as ever. And I love this readjustment from Bonk. Now time starts to tick. He knows he's going to have to hop up in the end. They're trying to make a little bit of a crossfire on the fly. What? Where's the miscommunication? Okay. Safe was the safety net, but that could have been so dangerous. I thought the crossfire was meant to be complimentary, but a bit of a bait at the end. But hey, if it gets you the round, it ain't bait. It's just being clutch.
No, it was a good trade. That was planned the whole time there.
You reckon?
Yeah, sure.
We'll go for that. But look what that's done to the economy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was three players under 1,000 credits in the previous round. Now it looks like we might see a couple of stingers, a couple of light armors, maybe a sheriff or 2. But G2 looking to, I guess, in terms of damage, just take something away from Bonk here, because 5-4, you don't want to let the last couple of rounds escape you when you've had this impressive. Oh, Hunter's Fury going to get invested actually from AORUS. I don't think he got a tag with the owl drone there, so kind of just throwing that one out there.
I'm kind of looking at this. The one thing I want to say is I like the way Bonk are positioning here. they're sitting deep on the sites. They're not allowing easy picks to happen against pistols, because we've seen what Mixwell can do when he's on that Sheriff. He can just die into the site. He can get him. So I like the way they're making him work for it. They're not sitting on these close angles. I would say, of course, short is always going to be a danger. It's a more close quarter, right? It gets you that bit of freedom. So these two A players, Cypher can get over there eventually, but these two are going to have to be raring to go, because you're seeing the util come in. They've got to know what's coming their way. You're seeing the pressure mount. They could potentially split through spawn with the door down. They don't have the full information. This Cypher's got to be on point here.
Yeah, this is going to be big if the timing doesn't work out. Aaron's actually going to find Artist coming up through window, and Mixwell will trade it with the shorty, but Bonk are good to get the response there. Hunter's Fury invested back up towards Heaven, but Yassine not getting relayed the information, I guess, and David will find safe as well. So Spike will go down here. Bonk find themselves in a 2v3 retake in a round you gotta say they should have had a grip on.
The miscommunication to think that Heaven was clear there is going to haunt them. Now, of course, G2 are on the lighter buy, but they've surely got to have gotten some of those rifles back. So at this point, Pit posted up on short. You do have the Sober about to swing through, but there's a time limit on this. They don't have all the time in the world to play this one back in now on the retake.
And especially on a save round as well, with the wall blocking off door, they're not going to expect Pit to lurk at all. Ziz will find David, and there you go. Pit comes through and finds Bonka. Really, really good read from that situation from G2 side. And Pit, again, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, right? If your Cypher is getting impact kills like that in the post-plant scenario, absolutely fine with them having this scoreline in the game, because they're important kills, Lauren.
Oh, they're huge, and I really want to see Pit find a place with the Sheriff. I really hope he runs it more, because honestly, if any of you watched him back in the day, you'll know how good he was. He was nuts on. It was when he was in NA. I think it was for like Luminosity or something weird. He was just crazy with it. So I'd love to see that. But speaking of the G2 side, David P with a perfect start. Gonna find one, and that's gonna open up A massively. Yassine's in trouble. Knows it too. Needs to fall away, but they don't have much to play with here. Yassine, I didn't see armor on him, so they're definitely suffering. Even though he's got the op, he doesn't have that stay. He can't withstand any of this spam coming through right now.
Yeah, and this is when the utility becomes Mixwell. What is that angle? I didn't know that one existed, but Artist will find a shock bolt kill onto Bonkar, and before I could even finish my sentence about utility usage, he finds a kill with it. I think now Bonk gonna back up, maybe try and find an exit or two, and okay, thank you, Ziz. That one nearly went amiss.
Oh, Aaron's dead. Do they survive with these guns? G2 should hunt this. They know they should as well.
Yeah, punish them.
They've got, like, what, Mixwell's got 4.3 in the bank on the rifle, fully geared up. This would trash the opponents. That'd really make them work for it. It'd be a little bit harder. How much time do they have left? Not a lot to find them. 2 more seconds. Yassine's gonna find one. He needs to stay alive here. Nice work.
Yeah.
And yeah, keeps the gun. Good work there. But let's look at that scoreboard now, because it's 7-4. It's closing in on the end of the half here. Is this enough, do you think, for Bonk?
I mean, if you make the comparison, usually, I think the worst defensive half we've seen G2 have on this map has been like, I mean, what was it against Party Powers? I think it was only like 8 rounds, right? So you look at an 8-4 scoreline, and here we're looking at them doing the flip side of that on attack. So it's definitely a consideration to make, but I think the way Bonk is playing, Yassine gonna burst out with the showstopper there. Find the freebie and back up. That's really good use of utility there.
That's so good. That is such a dirty little way to start things off. I was like, wait, is this gonna be one of those moments where you see that tens approach? We got the res coming out, gonna force that, but I guess not the end of the world considering the round scenario, but they definitely know what the game plan was. And look at the Cypher for the defensive team. Instantly trying to get that mid information, trying to box the offensive side in towards spawn almost, but there's the TP. That's gonna make them worry about the spike, even though the Omen does not have the spike. They're going to be cautious about it. Now, Patitech finding Ziz is going to really throw them through a loop.
Yeah, now they've got...
Oh, save! This is absolute filth!
My word.
And Aaron's just stopped it all as well. This is a great round. They're behind enemy lines. Safe is a beast. And honestly, I was impressed with Safe in map 1. Map 2 he's come alive, but now we have to see Patitech going above and beyond. But look at the HP, it's so low. Surely this is going to be Bonk with 5. Oh, He's going down. Aaron's got him in the end, but what a good half from both sides. I think we've seen G2 being pushed. This is what we want.
It absolutely is. I mean, Safe has just looked phenomenal, and to see somebody that plays as well on Phoenix, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I know you're just as heartbroken as me to see him flex back onto the Sage for Ascent, because we've seen some pretty special stuff elsewhere in the world when it comes to Phoenix. But I mean, he's absolutely insane on both agents. It's fantastic to see, and like you said, the operator usage is not something we usually see with Phoenix, but he makes it work. And again, it's the same as yesterday. Safe was kind of, you know, the backbone of their performance alongside Yassine, and to do it from that role is just so fantastic to see.
All right. It's not easy to break these boys on defense, though. Let's kind of take, you know, we're all excited that Bonk's pushing them, but G2 are great on this map for a reason, and this side, this half, is extremely good. If they can exploit middle, it did open up opportunities for other teams to split through towards B, but you do have to get past Mixwell and Ardis, which is no light duo to come up against. The timing, it's going to be atrocious. Mixwell, good for one, but the second not traded back in. They know where this player is. You're seeing going to spam it out, investing all that util, and he gets it. Lovely damage done. And the weakness is now found, so it's a 3v1 on the site if they went quickly. The Omen and the Cypher for the defensive side can't over-rotate. They don't have all the information.
No, actually, David P just peeking lane. He's going to take a little tag, but it's not going to hurt him too much. Switch gets flipped, and the door will close to market. But David P's timed this perfectly to get himself out of sight. I think Bonk is still going to try and clear this. They're going to assume he stayed here, obviously. So David P's done fantastically well to find Aaron as well. And Pat comes in, finds Safe on site while they're still hunting. This is a good recovery from G2.
Yeah, that playback in coming, you're right. It was the positioning and the timing of David P to get there to be the additional man on the site, right? Like, that looked to me like Bonk were about to get it. If they got that quick spike down, but they didn't have all the information. They didn't know that the site was clear. They had to clear all those corners. And with David P knowing that, he just sprung in. He was right there, ready to go. And this is why we say this is a great map for David P. Yes, he's had some up and downs. Well, not even up and downs. One bad performance on it recently. Yeah, exactly. One blip on the radar, but traditionally he is outstanding on this map.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really heads up play from him here. A heavy A presence here, and Pitt's going to hear it and see it on the spy cam, so he knows exactly what's coming. Just going to come back and try and play time here. The dark cover comes out, and the paranoia as well. He's actually going to swing out during the flash, so will lose his life for it, but finds one regardless. And they will get the spike down here. Some last pack damage going up towards Evan. That could be a big factor, considering they haven't got many weapons on the board.
You're right, and this isn't a huge investment from G2. They're light on armor in some scenarios, but at the most part, they are way overly geared in comparison to the opponents. There's got to be a couple of kills to come in quickly if they fancy a chance, and it looks like Ziz is going to be tasked to do so much and too much. Ardis and Mixwell on the play back in, get things going, and I didn't like what Pitt did there, but, you know, maybe he bought enough time. Maybe he felt he had to do something. Being passive wasn't the answer, but no matter which way you want to cut it, it was a good cleanup. 3 stand for G2. They can invest around this. The money has been kept quite humble, but, you know, no insta-op, no easy purchases going forward, but they still are almost closing in on those double digits.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to consider. 2 kills and a spike down will give them that flexibility to purchase full utility. Sometimes back in the 3rd round, you know, if you forced up pistols for round 2, you don't have that opportunity, but everybody going to be sitting pretty now with the buy from Bonk. Pitt's probably going to swing again here, and he's going to get met by Yassine again, and this time he comes out on top of it. And actually, Pat and Mixwell tucked in short cubby means that they could walk out onto site for free because the spy cam's not available.
Oh, the timing. Oh, no. He's been seen. All right, there it is. A little unfortunate. You'd have liked to have had maybe that as a little bit of a trick up your sleeve. Paddy Tech not able to capitalize on what he'd like, but the mid battle is so far tilting in favor to G2. Mixwell going to find the big pick there. David P going to join in on Ziz, and suddenly the pressure is being alleviated pretty quickly.
Yeah, 2 from Bonk will fall. And again, now they're so good at punishing. As soon as they get the information, obviously they see the spike. As soon as it gets dropped, you can just see how quickly they collapse. They've lost a site, but Bonk aren't able to capitalize and get an entry there. And now it just falls to Yassine, and this is that relentless playstyle we've become so used to seeing from G2. It's just, I mean, what can you do when a team reacts that quickly?
There's not much you can do. There's a reason why this is one of the best maps for G2. They're very good at playing it. It complements them very well. They still have that great grip on capitalizing on any advantage they're given. If there's a mistake made, they're going to be right on that. There's no two ways about it. And for Bonk, it's got to start now. You got to find a little bit of something here. You got to get that round on the board. And you can see the economy. It's just not in the right place for it.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to assume this is going 11 rounds for G2 unless Bonk can dig deep. And one thing I will say is I picked up on it in the last map, but they haven't been as quick to capitalize on the thrifty rounds on Ascent. On Haven, we kind of saw them just go, right, balls to the wall. We'll invest maybe 1 stinger, 2 stingers, and a light armor, and we'll go for it. Here, we haven't seen the same thing again. On a thrifty round, pretty default setup here. Just looking for an entry as opposed to committing to something.
You can hear Raze popping the ult. Not seeing it find its target. I just put it up towards Heaven. Paddy Tech down towards Dark. Mixwell towards Yassine. Nice and easy for Mixwell. Making it look so comfy. And so far, they've really made this tricky. You're going to see the spike heading towards mid, so it is a bit of a, you know, bait and switch, but it's still going to be an incredible uphill battle. I don't know what you can really do with this. With Bonk being lost, I think they know they've been kind of dealt with this round. No easy step towards the site, and that stinger not really going to really find much placement, I feel.
No, Ziz was looking for something to get into the defensive spawn. Mixwell will clean it up with the Blade Storm, but again, as soon as they got all the way to market, they were actually double stacked up there. I feel like maybe just try and find something on B. I mean, David P's timing, it's pretty phenomenal there to catch the peek through. But yeah, it worked so well for them in the previous map. I wonder why they're treating it so differently here. I'm not quite sure.
Did AORUS buy armor?
About to find out, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, we've got the mid split coming in. And so much mid attention from G2. Now, that's a different look here. You're seeing him going to win the fight against Mixwell, but the trade's there for David P. David P, the specialist, always finding a little bit of silver lining on this map. Now, Safe going to try and maybe get some presence building himself to try and keep check towards short. So for now, this mid scrap is continuing, and G2 are willing to fight this out. They have the round lead. Why wouldn't they be?
It is. It's G2 can kind of throw one or two away if they want to take the death match with Bonk. But looking like Spike's gonna rotate through short here, and actually all 3 players from G2 are feeling as if it's gonna be a B hit, because Pit making his way all the way through defensive spawn. Neither of the trapwires have been destroyed. One of them's just been popped now, so the information going to be relayed. David P will get the revive on Artist, but you're seen there to refrag that one and find David? What?
I love the late lurk in middle. Yassine is just going ham right now. Yeah, the spike's down, but Yassine is just holding them all back. That could be another. He doesn't get it. Pit does take him down in the end, but Yassine is worth his weight in gold at this point. You don't lose this anymore. Pit on 80 HP. Probably just going to try and keep the gun, maybe. No need to feed. 27 HP. You don't love to see that. They're probably going to hunt this down. I mean, honestly, it was a nice little lean towards A. It was the right read, but having that player late lurking towards middle, perfect.
Oh, please check this corner.
Safe.
No.
Oh, no.
He knifed him. Oh. You hate to see it.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Nah, you got to check your corners. Aaron, I mean, this is something that goes into even very established FPS games. Checking corners with actual intent. It's something you'll hear analysts harp on about because it can be such a downfall. People just, you know, they'll check it without purpose. They'll check it very lazily just because they're like, maybe. But yeah, they didn't even check it. So anyway, into this one, we do see the op out for Mixwell. So we hadn't seen this look yet. We hadn't seen him really banking on the op, and he is good with it on this map. Another mid-stack, though, coming out for G2.
Yeah, David P going to wall Mixwell up, and we've seen this again. This is what I was talking about yesterday. That clip of Ardis, And it's going to be exactly the same setup here. He's going to swing towards the steps in mid. Mixwell overlooking. And there you go. Ardis will find Yassine. David will find Ziz. Hunter's Fury gets invested. Safe will trade that one out. But again here, it's a nice defensive execute from G2.
A lovely little curveball to throw. You highlighted it so well. And I'm glad we got to see it again today. But now the rest of the offensive side needs to kind of bring themselves back together. They're very split across this map. The spike is isolated towards the back of B. Sova got on the long rotation. Obviously, G2 have lost track a little of where they're going because really Bonk are so shattered at this point. But they need to bring themselves back together and they can probably win a favorable fight on the site. So, you know, 2 on either side of things. You do still have Mixwell with the op though, so a bit of a deadly threat to be waiting by B.
Yeah, D2 happy to sit back and just read the situation here. Safe. Gonna get Yassine back on his feet, and that will give a bit of information. There's still some mid presence from Bonk. But yeah, going for a 2-2 split, giving up mid and market means they're just gonna commit to hold him back here. Bonk slowly making their way through B lobby, and I mean Mixwell's gonna be ready to land this, and a rare miss from him. Showstopper comes through, doesn't find a kill though.
They're going to get the fight on the site. They're going to get what they want. And Aaron's taking down Patty, but David P is there. And David P, a safe pair of hands. Only good for one, but the time has been bought. 5 seconds on the board. They've got to get the spike down. Nothing can stop it. And that Cypher in the off angle, tucked away, could be the game changer here. Yeah. It's going to deny Mixwell the play back in. They've just got to play this crossfire out. And yeah, he could check on it, but by then, the trade should be available.
Yeah, he's got to stay tucked there. Pit's coming through market now, and you can see the methodical clearance. He's worried about that same corner he was just playing last round, but yeah, he's got to stay tucked in here. It kind of all rests on Aaron. I think Pit has spotted a weapon barrel here, so he's waiting for it.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. He knows it.
My eyes.
Yeah, nice work from Pit. Nice second from Pit. There's no time, is there?
No, there's no time.
Nah, done for. No worries. Takes a second. I'm going deaf in my old age. But nicely handled from Bonk there, considering... I want to kind of look at that in 2 ways. Your scene goes down, but whatever. Unless they're on an eco, then it's a bit of a bigger deal. But it's not going to probably be the case. It's a little light, to be fair, but it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. You had the great set piece, as you highlighted, from G2, but there was an answer from Bonk, which we hadn't seen anyone do yet.
Yeah, and again, a lot of top mid presence, and the Hunter's Fury kind of getting popped as a reaction to that play from G2, and I like to see that. Kind of doubling down. If we're going to lose anybody, we're going to trade out in mid. And there's again, there's not a lot of teams that will invest in doing that. Mixwell going to burst all the way out a lobby there, and you see
Cloud9 play.
Yeah,
you don't get away with that. It was the Tenswell play, and you don't get away with that when someone doesn't get flashed. A little unfortunate. I love the idea of it. Again, this is what you say about those defensive-sided executes or defense aggression. It can work incredibly well.
I know
for now,
exactly
though,
where
the attacking side going to peel away from this. They've definitely done a good enough amount of work. They don't have to overcommit towards A. If they kept going, they'd have run into 2 pretty well-established players, and they have so much step towards B here.
Look at your minimap. Look where they found David P. That blue cross is how far David P had pushed out of B lobby.
He likes to go walking.
Yeah. So as soon as that kill comes over, obviously Bonk are doing exactly what you're seeing on your screen right now, which is rotating the spike over to B. They managed to get one tucked early into the back of Boathouse, and this one pretty much in the bag for Bonk, and G2, rightfully so, going to try and hold on to some weapons.
And a reminder here, just because maybe people at home don't watch all that much Valorant, you check in every now and then. Why are we so hyped about Bonk winning a couple of rounds? Because not many teams do this. No. G2 are undefeated on this map. No one has won a game against them on Ascent. This is their home territory. This is it.
I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong. This might be incorrect here, but I remember last time I looked at it, the most rounds anybody had got versus G2 on Ascent was 8. And Bonk are about to pick up their 8th.
So excluding that 1 OT,
there
was Party Parrots, 8 was about the maximum people had got. So credit to them for doing it. This is what you need for Europe, though. I've been saying, you know, I looked at Fish 123, I think most of us did, to being the big opposition for G2, but you know what? Throw Bonk in the mix. I don't care. I'll take anyone who's willing to push this and make them play better. That's what you want. You know, 3-4 really good teams that can definitely strain the opposition and make them play these much more competitive games.
Yeah, and ultimately, this is Bonk stepping up to the plate. I don't feel as if G2 are playing poorly here. This is actually Bonk really shining.
100%.
We've seen G2 literally dismantle teams on Ascent. And Bonk are actually showing the one concern I had yesterday was how deep is the playbook on all maps. And again, I'm sorry, the bind performance is going to haunt them. This is fantastic to see, Lauren.
Let's see David P in his natural environment, always a nuisance, but they hold back a lot of utility here. Bonk don't overcommit. And you're gonna see the rotations from G2. They have to respect this now. David P getting a glimpse, considering the wall. And again, more util being drawn off the back of the bomb buddy. Little Roomba going for a clean. But they're going to force a bit of patience here from G2. G2 will probably love a bit of free info. But you can see how they're posturing towards middle and those deep halls over by A. They're waiting for these pushes. They're waiting to see if anyone would dare come out. And you're going to see the brilliance of AORUS with the ultimate. Not going to get much for it this time, but I'd love, you know, down the line, a statistic of how much he gets from that ultimate compared to any other Sova.
Yeah, I actually cursed him yesterday by even mentioning it, because I think the next 3 after I'd said how good he is with it, he managed to not draw anything out of it. But a little bit of a fake as well. You saw the dark cover just fly across the minimap over to the defensive spawn on B site, and you can see Spike has rotated with 4 members of Bonk here.
I'm pretty sure they've seen enough on the site. I don't know if the cage was up early enough, but they were double stacked towards short. Nice work from Mixwell, doing a bit of damage back to them. I thought that was going to be the follow-up, but not to be. Staying safe, trying to hold and commit towards that corner. 5 seconds left, and Mixwell is doing everything he can. He tries to deny the plant. He doesn't get the time on it, but AORUS is there towards Aaron. And now 1 player surrounded, but look at the late flank coming in as well. Safe goes down. It's all on Bonka. He can't do it. The defuse will come in, and 12 rounds will be put on the board for G2.
Yeah, and I mean, really good late execute from Bonk. I mean, on the back of Mixwell, just getting 2 super clean peaks from the scaffolding. The first one to shut down the showstopper as well, which is an important factor there. If you've seen Gets an N2 with that ultimate, you could have argued the round could have gone either way, because Safe found 2 entries pre-plant there as well. So really good stuff from Bonk again, but G2 just so strong with the retake. And I mean, the money, we can talk about it here, but G2 are on 12 rounds, so it's all or nothing regardless for Bonk here.
Yeah, it is. Here comes the wall in mid. Mixwell uppity over. And it looks like a quicker lean towards B this time. They're definitely trying to take those B halls away from David P. Safe up for the fight towards AORUS. You're going to know that David P is there still, but you've seen lose his life to that. A bit of a 1-for-1 trade out, but no harm, no foul yet. Let's see how this Omen fight goes towards middle. If Patitak goes down, then it's a problem. But no, he holds his own, denies Aaron, and suddenly G2 look poised to maybe consider the next map.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the res available as well. As soon as that dark cover comes down, you can see David P on the minimap thinking about it, but I mean, why not? You know, you're on 12 rounds, get it back to a 5v3. And here you go. Yeah, he's going to go over and get that. Exactly. Pat now going to get contact on short. Going to use the shrouded step to get the hell out of dodge. But the paranoia comes through, and that's going to slow down the push.
They've got to keep going on this, so the pressure has to keep mounting. Otherwise, the rotations are going to be there so quickly. And Patitek being the immovable object, he's not letting him in for a second. He wants this over and done with. And, well, what can the remaining player from Bonk do? A casual 1v5 up against one of the best in Europe with a Bulldog.
He's time to pit.
How's he done that? How the hell has he done that? He's behind enemy lines. He's a spy. They have no idea. You might... Is David P really watching this with a frenzy? Oh, David, you're too smart, too good. Well played, G2. It's a 30-8. Look, Bonk had moments. They definitely had moments throughout that game. But when it came down to it, I still feel G2 have so many looks that they can depend on.
They can pull so many different things out of the bag, and ultimately it came down to there. Bonk had a really good response to a few of the things G2 tried in mid, particularly over on the B side pushes, which we talk about as David P's trademark now. ultimately I was impressed, but again, G2 just doing what they do best. They take control of Ascent. They're so quick to punish any mistakes. What more can you say at this point? We just repeat ourselves every time we see G2 play Ascent. It's the same factors over and over again.
You're right. And I think what you highlighted first, though, was that Bonk did have a couple of answers.
Yeah.
It wasn't everything. They didn't have, you know, the cheat sheet as to how to approach G2, but they definitely were able to pressure them in some scenarios. And they were shutting down some of their key elements, which was great. That mid play coming out from AORUS did have an answer eventually. The aggression from David P was shut down a couple of times. But of course, the way you beat someone like G2, it's not just in those first kills. It's then you basically then fighting a normal team, right? You've kind of quelled the aggression. You've kind of brought them to a standard style, and then suddenly you're like, oh, we still have to just, you know, approach a site here. We still have to do everything else.
I mean, as well, we've mentioned this. G2 is a roster that, you know, and this is not to throw shade in any other direction, but if Mixwell falls in mid as first blood, you know that there's 4 other people that can bloody well pick up the slack on the back of that.
Yep.
I mean, even that last round there, Pat just finding 3 kills in short, solo, no backup, uses the shrouded step to get out, peels away after the first kill. It's stuff like that, you know, you talk about other rosters, and if their superstar player or their duelist dies, it's sometimes difficult for them to get anything going. G2 is one where Mixwell falls, AORUS steps up, David P steps up, Pat steps up. We talk about it time and time again, and it's a huge factor.
It truly is. And looking at kind of let's go to the far left, the 95% pick right there for Cypher. I do want to kind of highlight Pitt being a player that's out, or Patty Tech doing the same thing on the Omen, of course. These 2 players, as said, you know, when you think about G2, you obviously think Mixwell, you think AORUS as your big heavy fraggers there. But I mean, those 3, and then David P, right? You basically got your players that aren't necessarily your superstar, but they held so much value in that game. When you think about how many times did they deliver, you know, a quick 2 kills, they held position, they bought time on rotations. Patty Tech, the amount of times he would get under someone's skin on that Omen, he would make any team uncomfortable. He finds those positions. That wallbang comes to mind. So many moments where he's just really, really quite powerful. So again, they are peeling the layers back, I feel here, Bonk. They're getting under the skin, but there's just so much depth that we're seeing come from G2 that is the kind of final boss that we've been waiting on. Yeah,
depth is absolutely the word. I keep talking about playbooks for teams and getting to this level now where we should see, you know, a variety in setups. The ultimate... I guess the key to Valorant is obviously keeping your opponent guessing. And the thing with G2 is we've seen them switch up their setup so many times. And I've started picking up on it a bit more because I've seen how influential it becomes in some rounds. And just coming back to Pitt, I mean, in those rounds where they do send 3 people out on a certain side on defense, he's the one that picks up the slack. Yep. And you talk about, you know, Cypher's maybe not seeing a lot of action because teams want to avoid it because of the amount of free info and the way he's able to control a site. Pitt doing that as well as picking up, you know, 1 or 2 kills every other round on a lurk is huge for your team.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed. I think I've wanted to see G2 pushed further. Bonk is doing that, so this is a good look for them. But overall, this is showing that G2 aren't just that one-trick pony that some were theorizing. There is a bit of depth. We haven't seen the best of them yet. Of course, they haven't been pushed to their limits, but as said, there's a couple more maps to come up. And before we get there, we have a couple of interviews, maybe some bits and pieces to keep you all guys happy at home. So we're going to head over to Ailey to give us a little interview with one of Riot's finest.
All right, thank you, Penzi. Yes, as she just said, we had one more interview for you from Riot. This Customer Fury that you've seen these past 2 days. We had a couple times, you know, to ask him a few questions about the game, because it's, you know, coming up game, because it's quite recent. So he's the Valorant Global Esports Business Strategy Leader. So we asked him a few questions specifically about the long-term vision they have for Valorant.
You know, with Valorant Esports, we have the opportunity to create something from scratch. And of course, we have a lot of learnings from other esports and League of Legends that we can apply. But ultimately, we want to create what's best for Valorant. And what's best for Valorant is going to be a little bit different than what anyone else has done before. Now, there are learnings we can apply from things like League of Legends. For example, we know that we don't want to change the esport from the game. We want to make sure that the experience our fans have watching the esport is very similar or the same as the experience they have playing the game. And we think that's something that contributed greatly in the growth of League of Legends esports and something we want to apply to Valorant. So there's definitely some learnings we have that we want to apply, but ultimately we're watching closely and we want to make sure that what we build for Valorant is best for Valorant, not a copy of anything else out there. Yeah, I think shaping an esports scene for a new game like Valorant is challenging. I think one of our biggest challenges is that there is so much hype for this game. I think if you ask fans what they want, the thing they all want right now is a world championship. They want to see Valorant Worlds. They want to see the biggest thing at the biggest stages right now. And COVID aside, I don't think going as big as possible in the beginning is necessarily the best for the long-term success of Valorant esports. And we're really focused at trying to create an ecosystem that is successful 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And for an ecosystem, an esports ecosystem to be successful, it has to be sustainable. And third parties that get involved in the ecosystem, like teams and players, have to be successful as well. So our biggest challenge is trying to lay the foundation for something that is going to be successful 5, 10, 15 years from now, that everyone can be happy that they got involved in Valorant esports, but doing it at a pace that is not too fast, but enough to feed the hype that's out there. And I think that's kind of the biggest challenge we're facing right now.
Thank you so much, Kasra, for your time. And as you've seen now, we're heading onto our third game of this BO. So it might be a win for G2 or time to shine for Bonk. So we'll have just a minute, just a couple of break. Grab a bit of water at home because, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's really warm out there, so take care of yourselves. We're going to have, like I said, a quick break for our players and casters, and we'll see you in a bit.